So as we take a breath, I invite you, as you breathe in, to feel the expansiveness that you feel by whatever has touched you this day already. And in that expansion, as the lungs expand, imagine the expansion as an energy, as an energetic that goes well beyond the lungs, well beyond the body. Because you are not a body. We are not a body, that we are spirit, and that spirit feels that energetic of love, of appreciation, of gratitude, of gratefulness. And what is unspoken in that particular song, in that particular melody, is the gentleness and the benevolence of all that is, and the gentleness and the benevolence of the way it all works. Because the way that it all works is that all is blessed, all is perfect, all is working for us and for our good. All of life is perfect. And what our role is and how we're shifting, how we're creating our new identity is to shift from the identity that has believed that the world was against us, that somebody or something was against us, that somehow we are a victim of conditions and circumstances and others. And the thought system that has its cornerstone and basis in separation, in judging good and evil, of dichotomy, of duality, which leads to fearfulness. And that we're shifting during this month actually it's been 3 months, this series. We're shifting to a new identity, to a new way of life, a way of life that works, that is completely different and has a different cornerstone and different axioms and different truths that we begin to say that we're going to live our life from. But sometimes it gets a little messy when you're going from here to over there, doesn't it? Sometimes when you're used to being over here and used to a particular way of life, and you think you know the rules, and now we're saying they're all a little bit different, and you start to change, and you start to shift, and you start to move in a different direction, and something happens, don't you just want to go right back to what you've known, to what you mistakenly believed worked? And so it takes us some time and persistence and discipline and assurance and gentleness and love to arrive here. It takes patience. Isn't that what the children are learning about today? It takes patience. And of course, in Miracles talks about for immediate results. Immediate results. If you want to go from there to here, immediately apply infinite patience. I know it's annoying. I even say it and I have a shard of annoyance with it. And yet, it's true. Because the only thing that's falling away is that which is not real, that which never was, that which didn't exist, that which you never were. And so we can sit in patience when we can sit in patience and create the spaciousness and observe our little back and forth experience. And we can giggle and laugh a little bit because we know the end of the story. Because it is a journey without distance to a destination that has never changed. You've always been here. You just fell asleep and thought you were over there. You've always been here. You've always been. We've always been as God created us. This doesn't change up on us. We can fall asleep and believe it has. And so the gentleness demonstrated in this song is that I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the storms, that I can appreciate the sun. I'm grateful in this experiential. We signed up for a workshop, and this is the experiential piece of it. This is the part where we live the truths that we sat in the classroom and learned. And so now we're living them to the best of our ability. And so we are grateful for the wrong words so that we may recognize the right words. Because that contrast helps us to learn and helps us to remember the truth of who we are. The energy of appreciation is kind of like the secret sauce of what we've been up to. You know, we've gone through a series and we've learned a whole lot, and it's like, you know, we're making, I don't really make chili, but let's say it's soup. You know, we're making a good soup, and we start out with the ingredients, and we saute them, and we let them merge together, the flavors, so that what you have placed into it is unique and becomes one. The ingredients that seem separate, like the axioms, like I am as God created me, I need do nothing, that my life is perfect just the way it is, and that life is for me and not against me, and that everything is for my good, that everything is a stepping stone, that the only relationship of value is my relationship with God, the source, the creator of my being. We put all those ingredients in, and we saute them, and we let them simmer, and then they come together, and at some point you can't separate that original ingredient out. It becomes one. And then you add whatever else you add. You add your life to the mix. And those ingredients work in our life in such a way that it makes this exquisite, this unique soup experience, experiential remembrance. Ha 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 ha, that is who I am. This is who I am. I got to tell you, there was nothing about soup in this talk. Not a darn thing. Nothing. Nada. You will not find soup in that note at all. But we got to go with it. We got to go with it, don't we? Or, well, I guess I'm committed now, so I'm going to go with soup. And I'm going to invite you to join me. Because what I know is that final ingredient, that ingredient of appreciation that we fold it in and that we sprinkle it throughout, is what makes the way easy, effortless, and joyful. Because when we are in high and holy appreciation, don't you automatically shift? Aren't you automatically going in the direction of the truth of who you are when you bring your conscious awareness to appreciation rather than criticism and complaint? You know the answer. You know the answer. Yes. So, what the heck is appreciation and gratitude, and why is it so important in what we've been talking about? And whether you've been following the whole series or you're just here today, it's circuitous. You just take this and work this, and you'll go from here to there. And because the universe is benevolent, and all that we need is already given, and it's generous and it's gentle. And so the call today is to be gentle with ourselves, because it can be really frustrating when you're trying to change your concept of who you truly are, when you're trying to let go of, there's a saying, it says, fake it till you make it. Well, we've been faking it for a long time, but we don't take that saying with us any longer. Because who we thought we were in the land of separation, in the land of fear, in the land of duality, and the ways that we had to cope in order to align our infinite spirit and shrink it into that paradigm, which leads to pain and suffering and dissatisfaction, and all the ways that we coped to, say, hey, I'm okay, when I'm really not. I'm doing really well, when inside you're crying. I'm doing what I love. I'm with who I want to be with. I'm doing the things I want to do. Not. That's like, we're shedding that. And that can be painful and uncomfortable. It's like shedding a skin. And so that's why we need that gentleness, and we must appreciate the process and have patience in it to allow the soup to be fully cooked, right? I'm looking at Janine, who I know to be a chef, and I know I'm probably screwing all the soup stuff up. The pressure's on. But anyway, I digress for a moment. So what is appreciation? I have a little story that I think is really funny that I read this week, and I'm going to share it with you. Because sometimes we have to look at what something isn't in order to understand what it is. And so there's this wonderful, funny, powerful Unity minister, and many of you may know her. Her name's Edwene Gaines, and Edwene is known as the prosperity minister. She's known as the tithing minister. That is, her whole teaching is about prosperity and tithing. And so I was studying her book, which is The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, a simple guide to unlimited abundance, because in a couple months we're going to be talking about abundance and prosperity. And so in reading it, she's talking about it. This story comes in the section of where she's talking about goal setting. And she says that we have to prepare ourselves for greatness. We have to prepare ourselves because we're going over here. We're going in the direction of living and being as God created us to be. And that is unlimited and free, which is what we've been saying is our divine identity. Well, that's not what we've been doing over there. And so we prepare ourselves to allow the power of the all that is to move through us. And so she talks about that part of the practice of getting there, of preparing yourself for life as God created you to live it, is appreciation. And she says that she had a wonderful teacher, and his name was Charles, and he taught her a beautiful lesson. Now, she had only been in Unity for about 3 months, but she says that by that time she knew everything. So, and one Sunday after church, she went up to Charles, who's the minister, and this is what she said to him. This church business is God's business, and it really needs to be done first class. I don't know who was responsible for vacuuming the sanctuary today, but it was a mess. And I don't know who made the coffee, but it was so strong you could have floated a horseshoe in it. And the soloist, cover your ears, you guys. And the soloist was completely off key. We can't ever have her back again. Jesse, cover your ears. And there were at least 6 typographical errors in the bulletin. And she went on and on. And so this great high holy teacher patiently listened to her long litany of complaints. And then he said to her, Edwene, dear, for you today, the highest metaphysical law of the universe is don't bitch. she was taken aback. She was like, that wasn't the response that I expected. So she went home and she prayed about it. And she thought to herself as she prayed, well, he doesn't appreciate what I'm trying to do. I was just trying to help. And then she heard this little voice. You know that little voice that's usually right, that's real quiet? She heard this little voice say, pay attention to what he said. Pay attention to what he said. And so during that time, she took a good look at herself. And she had decided, she had heard somewhere that if you want to change a habit, practice something for 21 days. And so the habit that she sought to practice was that she wasn't going to complain, she wasn't going to criticize, and she wasn't going to gossip for 21 days. And during those 21 days, it was very challenging for her. She thought of herself as somebody who easily could talk with people, a great conversationalist, and she found she had to keep biting her lip, and that she had nothing really to say. And so she was out of character, unusually quiet during that time. And she said that she took a very good look at herself and that she wasn't very tickled with what she saw. She said this, I saw that I was a poisoner who was poisoning my own environment with gossip. I saw that I was a murderer because sarcasm is murder. Criticism is murder. And gossip and criticism creates a powerfully negative energy that pollutes everything around you. And what happened as she began to abstain from the way of this dynamic, this thought system, as she began to let go and move in this direction, and it was uncomfortable. And she didn't know who she was in a way. She didn't know how to interact with people. But she was patient, and she persisted, and she continued on, and she abstained from operating from this thought system of fear and negativity, and she continued on. And as she got down the pathway, what she began to feel was free. She began to feel energized. She began to feel joyfulness. She started to naturally just compliment people and appreciate people and declare the good that she saw. And you know what happened, because this is a spiritual law. What we appreciate appreciates. It expands. What we focus on increases. And it started to expand. And so that was her way to harness the power of appreciation, the power of practicing gratitude, the power of abstaining from the thought system that would lead us innocently, cries for love, no judgment, remember the gentleness, into the negativity, the fear, which leads to the gossip and complaining and the criticism and all that. It's just, what cornerstone of a thought system are you focused on? And so that's what we're talking about today. That is what appreciation is. Now, appreciation has to do with value. What do you value? What do you find worthy and significant? It's different from discerning right from wrong. It's going beyond the conditions of the world and the outpicturing, and it's appreciating what is already there. Eric Butterworth says it this way: developing the art of appreciation means simply getting an attitude of looking for the good and giving expression to constructive, beneficial thoughts and feelings in every situation. So when we catch ourselves wanting to critique and criticize and separate, What can we appreciate in a person, in a situation? What can I give expression to that's constructive and beneficial and good? He says, never fail in an interaction to say something good. Things happen in a miraculous way when we express appreciation. Things happen in a miraculous way. Sometime in the past year, I talked with you about priming the pump, that the old water pumps needed to be primed and that you needed to put a little bit of what you want in it, a little bit of water in the pump in order to prime it so that it'll gush forth with everything that you want and need to quench that thirst. This is what appreciation is. It's what I imagine was in the oil can with the Wizard of Oz and the Tin Man. It's that appreciation so that your joints can work and that which is stiff, something that you haven't exercised in a while, becomes and begins to be lubricated and fluid so that you can move in the direction that you desire. That's what our appreciation does. And the principle is as fixed as the law of gravity. When you understand the law, you will realize that your whole life is centered around the spirit of what? We talk about it every week here. Our whole life becomes centered around giving love, appreciation, praise, support, time, efforts, and substance. And Butterworth will say, the comeback will always follow. The comeback will always follow. You will receive what you give. You will receive what you give. But what I say, because that's hinting to cause, you've got your cause and effect. Cause and effect. And in this dense realm, we put time in between cause and effect. And what we're beginning to move towards, because we're unity and we're rising in consciousness and in unity, cause and effect are one. It's simultaneous. It's all happening at the same time. We appreciate for the sake of appreciation because it makes us happy and joyful and shifts our perception. It shifts our perception. So take a breath with me. That soup took up a lot of time. So I'm going to pause for a moment and think about where we want to go next. I think that the main thing that I was hopeful to bring forth today was I think that we understand appreciation in the world, that I'm appreciative of you all showing up. I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate the beauty that surrounds us as I gaze out these windows. But what I want to bring forth is the deep appreciation for the way of life that works. I want to bring forth the deep appreciation that I value the tools that we learn, beginning with our divine identity. If you haven't been here for a while, there's some bookmarks that have these listed, and the very first principle of truth that we've been talking about is that we are as God created us to be, that this is our divine identity. And the invitation to this community and to all of us is to begin to appreciate the relationship, the returning home to self, the higher self, capital H, capital S, self, higher self. You could call it Holy Spirit. As we teach, it is nothing more than your right mind, the mind that abides in the heart and mind of all that is. And that is within each one of us. And that as we go from this thought system to this thought system, and in our awkwardness, that we begin to have an appreciation for that self. We begin to acknowledge it, pause in gratitude with it, for it. And that we begin to develop a relationship that we return home, because you know what, the journey in the end, my beloved friends and family, is that the returning home is to self-love. And so let us begin to appreciate our relationship with the divine self and the way that things work, that when I identify and align with this divine self, then I appreciate that the second spiritual truth, the second axiom, I need do nothing. What a relief. I can stop trying so hard. I can appreciate that the way that it works is that as I align with my divine self, as I appreciate that self, I actually need to do nothing but court the divine. And then I am guided perfectly. That this identity based in this thought system of fear, man, she works hard. Man, she works hard and tries so hard. We can give that up. I am so grateful and appreciative that I need do nothing but allow life to live through me. That the magnificence of life is for me, that everything that happens in my realm of experience is a stepping stone. That I'm grateful for the wrong words, that I may know the right words. That I'm grateful for the storms, that I may know the sun. It is all a stepping stone to bring me home. And how grateful and appreciative I am that there's only one relationship that's ever going on. That I look out here and I see individuations of the one, but it's all God. And so that we can be appreciative and walk through life gently and lovingly, knowing that there's only one thing going on, and it's God, it's love. And it's you, and it's you, and it's you, and it's you, and it's you. However you show up is perfect. Because I guarantee it's to bring me home to love, whatever it is, however it is. And so we are the disciples of this way of life. We're the practitioners of this way of life. And our teacher and our way shower, Jesus, what did he do before the outcome of a miracle was evident to others? He always looked up, looked within, gave thanks. I know who I am. I'm one with God. And all power under heaven and earth courses through me in that alignment, and that I need do nothing but allow and surrender and let life be life as me. I imagine that's what he was saying in that instant. And he practiced it so much that it was instantaneous. It was his nature. And it's our nature too. And so when we do that, we just give thanks. We give thanks in advance for that which is already done. And the shackles and the veils fall from the eyes. And we see the miracles all around us and the beauty that we can be grateful and thankful for. Mike Robbins, who wrote the book Focus on the Good Stuff, he was a He was primed to be this baseball player, professional baseball player. And man, in the minor leagues, he threw his arm out. And what he had been working towards since he was 7 years old was gone in an instant. And as he was reflecting back on his experience and whether he had any regrets, the only regret he had was that he didn't appreciate his experiences while he was having them. He was always looking forward to what would be, or backwards to what was. This appreciation anchors us in the now moment. And may we go forth so that we have no regrets. May we go forth looking for appreciation, looking for the good word, looking to be the emissary of good news, of appreciation, of love for all of those in our lives. And we practice this together and look out. In a way, it's already happening. It's been happening.